All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us. Quick reminder, this show is moving 9 a.m. to noon starting this Monday. We're very excited about that. Ron Futrella in studio, as he always joins us every Tuesday. And we'll get to our special guest in a moment. I do want to address that last caller. His name was Mike. He called up and he asked me a question. He said, what do we do when we modify shotguns? Here's my simple response to that. Find me a shotgun that could shoot the number of bullets that some of these guns, assault weapons that were used over the...
Exactly.
It is ridiculous. It's non-comparable.
That would be my response, too. He could maybe take 2 or 3 shots in the same amount of time.
Exactly. We would not have 22 people dead in Walmart. We'd have several people, which is sad and unfortunate. But
not a good situation. But the problem with technology these days is one weapon can literally kill hundreds of people under the right circumstances.
A shotgun is not a weapon of war. An AK-47 is a weapon of war. An AR-15 is a weapon of war. That is the best way I can answer that question, and nobody wants to modify a shotgun. While one person dying is way too many, 22 is far worse. Ask those families, and they'll tell you. So, again, this ties into what happened. You know, this was a couple years ago. Ron, you've been a part of this town for such a long time, and I know October 1 was a shock to all of us, right? I remember, Ron, and I know you cover the Vegas Golden Knights. The night of that shooting, I went with a friend of mine, Chris, to the Knights game, and I was asked by a beautiful young lady who at the time I was seeing, and she asked me, she said, hey, do you want to go to the show with me? Because I'm going with my mom. And I said, not really a huge country fan, but to be honest with you, I would go, but I was already asked to go to the Vegas Knights game. It was a Knights preseason game. I go to the preseason game. I'm leaving the game. I'm driving home, and all of a sudden my phone's blowing up. Brian, oh, my God, put on the TV. I call my friend. She's not answering her phone all night. I am obviously thinking the worst. And then her mother calls me in the morning and said, yes, she was shot in the back. Doctors are saying, there's at least a 25% chance she might not make it. She's in a coma. I just dropped to the floor. I'm like, oh, my God, that could have easily been me. I felt horrible, terrible. And she did survive. She's a fighter. She moved back to California, and her life will never be the same again. We all have stories like that, right? And it's very close to my heart. So when I see these shootings that happen, of course, I think about the Route 91 Festival in Las Vegas, October 1. And I know people that were there. She was one of them. And the guy we have with us in studio right now, his name is James Varga. He was at the front of the stage. Correct me. And by the way, James, thank you for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. And it was front left. I was about 4 rows in.
And you heard the shots as it was happening. You knew it was a gun?
Yeah, of course, because I'm looking around. There's no fireworks. They're not trying to fix the sound system on the stage, because one time I went to a Seven Dust concert, and it sounded very similar when the speaker was acting up, and they had to switch out during the concert. And then I didn't see anybody throwing firecrackers, so the first thing I did was duck and then pull my friend down.
I mean, that's a traumatic experience. How long did it take you to be able to say to yourself, all right, I think I can go to a concert again? I mean, how long did it take you to heal and do that? I mean, I'm not saying you never forget it, obviously, but how long were you scared to go out?
It was pretty quick for me compared to most people. I'd say about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks.
That's not so bad. And you saw some pretty horrific things that nobody should have to see. So the reason why I wanted you in today, and I'm so glad that you were able to get out of there, so many people, unfortunately, were not. When you see these shootings that happen over the weekend, I would imagine you're obviously thinking about your experience that happened a couple of years ago, or do you not?
Not so much anymore. Used to, yes. Mm-hmm. But then now it's like, okay, let's just try not to think about it and just not let it get to you. You know what I mean? Have regression, basically.
And I understand that. Every person that was at that Walmart and every person that was in Dayton, and we're talking thousands that maybe were a part of it, that were either there or they were in the parking lot or somewhere around there, are going through what you went through. So I would imagine you have sympathy for them.
Yeah, but one thing I'm noticing, though, is one thing I picked up on real quick, this reading through all the news stories and everything, just scrolling through the different news sites.
Yeah.
They're focusing way more on El Paso than Dayton.
Why do you think that is?
Because the Dayton shooter was an Elizabeth Warren supporter, to be honest.
So you think it's, well, I mean, I
think it's politicized, know what I mean?
I will say
That's
this, though.
I'm
CNN, I will say this. CNN has...
No way. No.
I Googled it. It's true. They verified it.
Hold on.
It is true.
But to be fair, though, CNN has had live reporters going back and forth. in Oklahoma, in El Paso, obviously, and in Dayton. Yes, I do believe that the Walmart shooting has had more coverage, and I hate to say this, but it's also the double amount of dead bodies.
I agree with that, but I also think it's trying to push the whole white supremacy thing when in the other shooting, the shooter or the perpetrator, we're not going to use names or whatever, had a total opposite ideological beliefs from the first guy that happened like 12 hours earlier, and I'm seeing totally different news coverage on the one than on the other. It's like they're talking about, the shooter had a hit list and all this, like, and all this stuff. The red flag.
I agree with that.
But at the same time, they're not going into his background for that reason.
The Dayton shooter had a rape list in high school.
Yep.
He had an assault list.
If that's not a red flag
in high school. That's what I'm saying. There were several situations where he should have. And that's why this red flag law that Trump is considering. To me, that makes sense when you think of someone like Connor Betts, the Dayton shooter. So James, let me ask you this. Had that shooting, that Route 91 shooting, involved a .45 or a Glock or a handgun, would it have even been possible?
No.
Of course not.
Because it's a long distance from an elevated position. If you want a sniper scope or something like that.
James, you're talking about the media, and I agree with you, by the way, obviously. You're talking about the media coverage, but I'll tell you one thing that many of these shootings have in common. The weapons that they're using.
Of course.
And this is something that right? And you would agree this needs to be addressed, does it not?
Yeah, I think they need to focus on, like, the red flag law that I agree with. Then, like, the no bump stocks, I agree with that too. And then, like, the what was the other one? There was like a third one now.
What do you think, though, about the guy in Dayton who was able to buy 250 rounds of ammunition without any legally? What do you think about that?
Blame the system. The system was broken, and the people in the system are broken that related to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's created a whole broken society, and that's why stuff like this happens. We've got a bunch of crazy people out there with access to guns, and they're just going to do what they want to do whenever they want to do it. And the only reason that one guy was stopped, a whole bunch of cops or whatever, they took him down in less than a minute.
I want to ask you this, though.
That's why it was less than the other one.
Let's go back to days after the shooting for you on October 1. If you're just joining us, we're speaking with James Varga. He is a survivor of the Route 91 Harvest Festival. Days after the shooting, what did you have to go through? What were you feeling, for example, the day after? Because I want to get in the mind of what you had to deal with, and we want to know, what are these people in El Paso dealing with, the survivors? What are people in Dayton dealing with? What are the types of things that you had to go through in those weeks after the October 1 shooting?
Well, the first thing you'd be to do is to avoid the news, because if you're watching it over and over and over and over again, it's just going to mess you up even further and send you deeper down into the dark hole of depression or whatever, PTSD. But what I did, I just went to work. I just kept living my life. Like, I'm not going to let some maniac try to take me out in my town and make me scared to go out, scared to do this, scared to do that. It's like you got to get over the fear. Otherwise, you're just going to be paranoid shut in the rest of your life, thinking that's going to keep happening around every corner, even though it might possibly go by how things are going.
Bless you for that. Bless you for that. No, and it's too. Look at, why do two soldiers that see virtually the same thing in war, one comes home with PTSD and one is fine with it.
It affects everybody differently.
It affects every. Yes, it absolutely does. And again, we're trying to solve it from the back side, not from the front side. And we got to solve this problem from the front side, not the back.
Well,
I agree.
What you said, it took you 2 weeks to get out and even be willing to go to a show again. What were you feeling inside? The reason for what did you feel that made you not want to do that? You felt like it would happen again.
I went on. No, definitely not. I went out the weekend after because I had like 2 birthday things on the same time, right? The first one was at like a little bar place. I was fine there. Then when I got to downtown, there's the skyscrapers. That's when I started getting all antsy because of the elevated shooter at the Vegas shooting.
So you're saying you were at a birthday party the following week and you were looking at these skyscrapers.
Yeah.
And you were looking at the windows.
Yeah, to see if any windows were being broken.
When was the first time you went back to the area where the shooting happened?
Oh, the 1 year anniversary after the last time I was on the show.
So you had to wait. You waited a while, a year.
And that's interesting, James. You say that I obviously was not there. I was at the hockey game, Brian, the same hockey game that you talked about that night.
Yeah.
And but I find myself doing the same thing. now in Las Vegas when I'm at an event that's outside and we have a lot of large casinos.
You
I
look too.
I look up. I think we all sort of do now. I don't know how long it's going to take for us not to.
Sadly.
I mean, for let's say this, for years, I still see planes landing at McCarran, and I see some of the tall buildings around, and I go back to 9/11.
Stratosphere Tower.
Yes, I see that, and I go, and I think it's going to be it's going to be our lives.
Sadly,
that is
I
not
agree.
Yes.
I've done the exact same thing. I agree with you. Why don't we take a few calls on this? We've got James Varga in studio, a survivor of the Route 91 Harvest Festival. Ron Futrell here, along with J.D. Sharp. I am Mr. Brian Shapiro. Take your calls at 257-5396, 702-257-5396. And also, coming up here in a few minutes, we're going to be speaking to a woman by the name of Misha Ray. She is a marketing and outreach coordinator for the Vegas Strong Resiliency Center. She's been getting a lot of calls from people with post-traumatic stress disorder from October 1.
Yeah, so, a lot of people in the groups got triggered by this weekend. And by Gilroy the weekend before.
Exactly. Too. So we'll be talking to her coming up and how they're helping people dealing with these horrible tragedies over the weekend like you had to deal with. 257-5396, the number to call. Let's go to Jared, who's been waiting very patiently on hold. Jared, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
What's up, Jared?
Hey,
Yeah, go ahead, Jared. Jared? Did we lose you?
Yeah,
that's unfortunate.
I think we lost
Jared's been waiting on hold for a while. Let's go to Jay. Jay, what's going on?
Hello, Brian. How you guys doing this evening?
Doing
well.
good, Jay. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Okay, I got a couple of points I just want to say. You know, we all associate America with the bald eagle, right?
Yes.
I definitely
do. We know that bald eagle can only soar with a right wing and a left wing. And I'd be glad when our politicians look up in the sky and see that bald eagle. And another point I want to make also is that we all know that John Wayne Gacy had a father, and we all know that Ted Bundy had a father. And they both looked up to their dads and tried to please them. And we see how their life turned out. I'm going to take you guys' response.
That's a good point.
Oh, that's
a good point, Jay.
Still, 90% of mass killers do not have. You could go there. You can mention a couple of wackos.
There are exceptions.
There is of course,
to some that just when their fathers are so successful that they can't become as successful as them, and it hurts them internally.
And it certainly does not mean that everybody that grows up without a father is going to turn into that, as you, Brian, tried to allude to last segment.
No, but he also makes a valid point.
That's a foolish statement to make.
Well,
absolutely foolish.
I think it's.
But there is a trend. Look at the trend and why it's happening and whether it means something. You guys are sports bettors. Mm-hmm. If you had a trend that hit 90%, you would look at that trend and find that trend and go, okay, wait a second.
Honestly, Ron, I don't use trends.
I'll tell you what, I have a trend.
I'll tell you what the most the most consistent trend here is male.
I'll tell you what a consistent trend is.
Male without a father influence.
I'll give you a consistent trend. Yeah. The president goes after dark people on a regular basis. What do you think about that? That's a trend.
No, okay,
we want to see a trend. Here's a picture of every mass shooter this year.
Oh, no, I know that.
There's definitely not a trend.
I'm talking about the president.
Yes. Let's get rid of the president and solve this problem, Brian. I wish it were that
James,
simple.
Are there any males in that list, in that picture?
Let me give out the number again.
I'm sorry, females in that picture.
All right, we got to take some more calls. Let's take some more calls. The number to call is 257-5396. Again, 257-5396. Let's go to Jimmy. Jimmy, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
What's up, Jimmy?
How you doing today?
Doing good, Jimmy. What's up?
I'm watching Fox News, and they just had the thing. I had it turned down because I was listening to you guys, and had ex-President Obama on there talking about how Trump should tone down his rhetoric and all this stuff. But even though during his presidency he did the same exact thing, and cops were getting knocked off left and right near the end of his presidency.
Please tell me. Okay, so let's inspect.
He's talking about Dallas.
Okay, let's talk about this a little bit.
And he's talking about Trayvon Martin.
Jimmy, let's talk about this a little bit. What did President Obama ever say, in your opinion, with a quote? Give me a quote that incited violence, in your opinion.
He was going on and on about how the black, like in Ferguson, all these different places that the cops were, basically killing black people.
Where did President Obama ever say that cops are killing black people? You're wrong. He never said that.
He's saying that they're inspired by.
You're not paraphrasing. He never said that, Jimmy. With all due respect, I gave you an opportunity.
He was coming out and getting on TV like Trump does and talking about how.
Like Trump does. Okay, so let me ask you another question, Jimmy. Did Barack Obama? Hold on. Let me ask you another question. Hold on. I got another question for you because you didn't adequately answer that one, but that's okay. Did Barack Obama ever tell anybody to go back to their country? Did Barack Obama ever allow a chant, send her back? Did Barack Obama ever tell anybody any of those things? And even worse, at a rally, did Barack Obama ever laugh when someone said shoot him in regards to immigrants? Hold on, I'm not done yet.
Actually, can I answer?
Did Barack Obama ever call Mexicans rapists? I can go on and on.
Barack Obama was berating.
You didn't answer my question.
President Trump
didn't ask you if he berated anybody. I didn't ask you if the president ever berated Donald Trump. I asked you 4 specific questions. I'm still waiting for an answer.
Well, you're being ridiculous.
Answer the question. That's not ridiculous.
Obama did his
Answer the question. You just said Obama is just as responsible. Hold on a second. Don't tell me I'm ridiculous. You just said Obama's just as responsible. Okay, pot him down. Pot him down. I just asked you a very specific question. You brought up Barack Obama. I said, name me something specifically, one statement that Obama's ever made to incite violence, and you couldn't. You said, well, I guess I'm just going to paraphrase. No, that's called lying. Your definition of paraphrasing is lying. I have statements that Donald Trump has made over and over again. I've named them on this show. You couldn't give me one sentence. You're saying that Barack Obama hated cops and was saying cops are killing black people. You are lying. That has never been said. What a shocker. You're watching Fox News. Why don't you go back to watching Fox News? Let's go to Jared. Jared, what's going on? 257-5396, the number to call. Jared, what's going on?
Hey, guys. Yeah, I got disconnected there. I apologize.
Oh, Jared.
No problem, Jared. We appreciate your diligence in calling back, Jared. My friend. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to go back to the conversation with the guns. The changing of the gun laws, I don't know why so many people are putting so much effort into, and I don't carry a gun or have a gun license permit, that is, but fixing that won't really fix the issues. The main issue
is
mental illness, and they have to recognize that earlier,
Jared,
and act on it.
Jared, yeah. I will answer your question and tell you.
Red flag laws.
I will answer your question and tell you why I'm talking about gun legislation, and I will answer it by asking you a very specific question. Most police officers are carrying handguns. They don't have AK-47s. Now, some of them do have them at the station in specific situations when they need them, but a regular handgun that a police officer has, let's just pretend for a moment.
Now, do you know why that is?
Hold on. Let me just ask him a question. Let's just pretend for a moment that the shooter at Walmart, for example, just had a specific handgun that a police officer had. Do you think that 22 people would have been killed?
Totally agree with you. The probable answer is no.
Okay, so Jared, that's why. Jared, but I'm answering your question. That's why.
Let me comment on what you just said.
Okay.
The fact of the matter is drugs are illegal and people get their hands on drugs.
Completely ridiculous analogy.
But you can still make an effort.
No, it's not.
No, hold on.
He's got a point here about the black market that's going to form up.
You can't talk over me to prove your point. I'm just addressing you.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just finish. He'll still get their hands on the guns. It's so irrelevant. What, do you think the death penalty scares people from murder?
It's ridiculous.
Brian, these are all gun-free zones where these happen.
I have no problem with making it more difficult to get their hands on guns.
Okay, Jared, I'm going to respond.
If they want to get their hands on it, they still will.
They're still going to get it illegally.
Jared, I'm going to respond to what you Jared, I'm going to respond to what you just said. Okay? Your response is, because they can get their hands on weapons anyway, we shouldn't do anything or change any gun laws. And I think that is completely and utterly ridiculous.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah, they're all gun-free zones, remember, too.
I'm saying that won't solve the problem. The root of the problem with any issues, you have to get to the root. The root is mental illness. If you're over,
that is another issue.
Let me ask this: why aren't the manufacturers of AK-47s and assault rifles? Why don't they just have contracts with the military and the police only?
Yeah, I'd be on board with that.
That's actually a pretty simple solution to everything.
According to Jared...
And the reason why police officers don't have those major weapons like they do in Venezuela, where on every street corner there's someone in military garb with a monstrous weapon, is because they're intimidating, and it's hard to operate with a weapon like that.
Listen, Jared, it is an interesting conversation, and I'm willing to have that conversation with you. We just simply disagree, and the reason why we disagree is I'm not for, well, you know what? Since there are so many guns out there, they're going to get guns anyway. Well, guess what? There's a lot of cocaine out there, but it's still against the law to have cocaine. All right? There's a lot of things in life. Look, listen, there are a lot of hookers out there, but it is still against the law to get a hooker.
It's not. It's really not against
it
the law.
is?
It is. Yes, it is.
Where? Well,
No,
what?
it's
Two
not.
five-
Okay, not in Pahrump.
Not in Nevada.
Not in Pahrump. But here's again, Brian, I'm going to say it because I haven't said it again during this hour, okay? During this, but you are skirting around the issue. You're attacking the wrong issues. The overriding issue with all of this is society, is family, is lack of religion, is lack of fathers at home.
Religion's got nothing to do with
No,
this.
it absolutely has
that's
everything to do with it.
nonsense.
It absolutely.
And Ron,
because
Ron,
let
let
me explain it.
And Ron, the lack of fathers at home,
politics.
a lot of that has to do
Politics
with
is the biggest part.
Yes.
A lot of that has to do with the fact that the Democratic Party has been rewarding mothers, single mothers, for years and years and years, and creating
It's
a
got
justice
absolutely,
cycle.
absolutely nothing to do with these shootings.
No, it's worse, Brian. It's worse than these horrific shootings. It's worse than
guys
these
are
horrific shootings. No.
So off base,
Brian.
it's unbelievable.
No, because
You're going to
what
say religion
let
is
me-
the reason why we're having these shootings? Are you
absolutely.
insane?
Absolutely. Here's why. What you have are young men with a lack of meaning in their lives. There's the issue right
I'm not
there.
a religious person. I don't kill innocent people.
What you have is young men with a lack of meaning in their lives. No, don't equate that. That has nothing to do with it.
You
There
just brought up
certainly
religion, not
there
me.
certainly are people that don't have religion that can still have meaning in their lives.
God
I did not
has
say
nothing
that.
to do with
I
these
did not say
shootings.
that. But you're going to see consistency. I didn't say God. I said lack of meaning in these people's lives. And typically the left.
Well, Trump is
has done-
definitely giving people meaning, isn't he?
Okay, Trump.
And
You
so
keep
has the
pointing out
left
Trump.
wing,
You
too.
keep pointing out Trump and guns and see where that gets
it's
you.
both sides,
It will
man.
make the problem worse. It will only make the problem worse. There'll be
Yeah.
a new president someday, and shootings will continue to happen.
Ron, you
They
should go back
happened
to
in
your
the past.
country. Go back to
They
your country,
happened-
Ron.
They
Yeah.
happened
Go
in
back
the
to your
past.
country.
I would love to go to Ireland if I
Go
could
back to your
right now.
country.
I
Yeah.
love the old
All right,
country.
let's take another call.
I
Go
wouldn't
here.
mind
Brian,
checking out the Netherlands
Brian,
either.
you will
Well,
not.
there are a few Irish pubs in town, so that
Yeah, you will
counts.
not
That's
get
true.
to you will not get to the heart
I
of the
do like
matter
Hennessy's.
because it's painful, but it has
Not
to
true.
be addressed.
Not true.
It has to be addressed
There's
in
a
this
lot of
country.
things. There's a lot of things that need to be addressed in this
And
country.
that's the heart of the matter.
257-5396.
You on the left like to attack problems in the middle, not at the heart.
I don't like to attack problems. I like
in
to
the middle,
go after
not at the heart.
solutions.
That's the solution.
Let me take some more
Fix
phone
that,
calls.
You fixed a bigger problem
All
than
right.
just shootings.
I got to get some more
I know.
calls.
You fix that. You fix a problem bigger than these horrific shootings.
All right, can I take a
But
call?
that problem's hard to fix.
Oh, it is. No, he doesn't want to even get into how to fix that. He won't even talk about that. He don't
I
want to
just
even
want to
agree
get
that's
some
the
more
issue.
phone calls.
I
I
know.
get what you're
get
saying.
You want to yell at some more people? Okay, let's get
I
them
want to
on.
get some more people in here.
It's
the number to
left
call.
wing and the right wing. Just saying.
JD, give out the number because I
Go
can't
ahead,
give out the number. Go ahead.
257-5396. If you want to be a part of the show, call in and we will respond accordingly.
See, they don't interrupt you. They just interrupt me when I'm trying to give out the number. All right, let's
Let's
go to Bob. Bob, what's going on?
What's up, Bob?
Yeah, Bob.
What about
My
Bob?
answer to the shooting is you got to change the privacy laws. You got to change the HIPAA laws. You can't tell after the fact that this guy was a nut.
Oh, I agree.
You know, there's a lot of
I
nuts
agree.
out there, and you can't. And all he's waiting is for an attorney to go.
Bob,
sue
I
you.
agree. Bob, you know what?
So, I mean, unless they
Yeah.
change that, you could change all the gun laws you want. You could restrict all the guns. Unless they change the privacy and you get some asshole attorney suing you, that's the only way it's going to solve
Okay,
it.
Bob, watch the A word there. Okay, we're on radio.
No, you can drop
I'm
it.
gonna
It's
keep
fine.
it.
All right.
All right,
Wait, you
Bob,
said
Bob,
Apple?
Bob, you bring up a good point. Okay, now I think proper gun legislation is a big role in all this. However, you bring up a good point. For example, the shooting that happened in Dayton. This guy had a rape list, he had a kill list, and somehow he falls through the cracks and is able to purchase a weapon. That is absurd.
He was suspended from school for a couple of weeks
Yeah,
as a
that was-
junior in high school, and he got back.
Parkland
You know, way
shooting.
Before this
High
happened,
school.
Bob.
you can't do it.
Bob.
Because you got some lawyers ready to sue you for
No, I
violating
agree.
his rights.
Listen,
And
Bob,
that's a valid point.
Bob, the Parkland shooter. Okay, we had
That's another one. He was a nut job.
I
too.
understand. That's why I'm
What do you-
bringing. That's why I'm bringing that up. Who's the guy we had on the show? Gutenberg.
Fred Gutenberg.
Okay, he lost his daughter. Bob, you've probably seen him on TV.
I've
And
heard him and seen him.
yeah, and he's a great man. What he's doing in his daughter's name and the pain he's going through, and all those other parents. God. But with that being said, 88 times the police were called to that shooter's home. There is,
right.
and you bring up listen, Bob, I'm not saying that there's just one thing. I'm not blaming Trump for everything. I'm saying there's a lot of factors that go into this, and Republicans and Democrats, for once in their lives, need to work together, and I think Trump needs to be a huge part of that. He's got to bring people together. We got to come up with solutions.
It's almost like there needs to be a formula
He was
where
the
you
one that brought up the
combine.
HIPAA laws. Trump brought up that you got to change the HIPAA laws.
Yeah. No, I understand. Bob, listen, it's a good call. I appreciate that. We got to take a break. I'm up against a break. We got to get to our guest coming up next. Her name is Misha Ray, Marketing and Outreach Coordinator for the Vegas Strong Resiliency Center. We'll get to her when we come back. Again, you're listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.